week 5 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few DST, defense special team units. I have as sleepers. The first one's the Dallas Cowboys. So right here, I know the Cowboys give up a lot of points throughout the season so far to opposing offenses, but this team this season, they're doing something different, and that's actually getting turnovers and actually finding the end zone as well a couple times this season. So Trevion Diggs, he's been the main factor on this Cowboy defense of making plays and getting things going. And Micah Parsons as well. What a rookie year so far for him. He's in action and he's making plays all over the field. I know the Cowboys got rid of Jalen Smith because of money and they didn't want to pay that big contract anymore. But this Cowboy defense the last couple weeks here have been doing pretty decent for fantasy. Week 3 versus Philly, 15 points allowed, 2 sacks, 2 windows, a touchdown. And then week 4 versus Carolina, 28 points allowed, but they had 5 sacks and 2 interceptions. And this week they versed the New York Giants, who give up the 20th most fantasy points to defenses. But right here, I think Daniel Jones, he's good for a turnover or 2, and obviously getting sacked a few times because this Giant offensive line just isn't that good. So this Cowboy team, I think they could be a sleeper option in deeper leagues, but people have picked them up this week in 27% of fantasy leagues. The next defense is the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Chargers, they've been pretty decent on defense this season, believe it or not, and have reached double-digit fantasy points in the last 2 ball games. And now week 5 here, they got a pretty good matchup, in my opinion, versus the Cleveland Browns, whose offense just doesn't really do much, in my opinion, besides Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who have been having good seasons. But Odell Beckham Jr. hasn't done much since he returned. Jarvis Landry's hurt. And Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, he just isn't that good. So right here, I think this Charger team could make a few plays and have even an opportunity of finding the end zone possibly in this ball game. And it's another home game here for the Chargers, which they play real well at home than on the road. And the third and final DST I have as a sleeper this week's the New York Jets. So the Jets and Falcons playing a ball game in London here, early morning special. This one's going to be, and anything happens and anything goes in those London games here. I like the Falcons defense as a top 12 unit, and the reason I have the Jets as a sleeper though this week, the Falcons do give up the 3rd most fantasy points to defenses this season. So right here, we know this Jet defense isn't that great, but they're also not totally getting carved up each and every week up and down the field here. So I think maybe they could get to Matt Ryan a few times with a couple sacks and maybe a few turnovers, but only in the deepest of leagues I have them as a sleeper option because there's better defenses obviously this week and around the league to put in your lineup. But the Jets, if you need a deep desperation sleeper option, I have them as one this week. So that's a few defense special team units I have as sleeper options heading into week 5 of the fantasy football season.